So last week we discussed the angelic forces in our life. We talked about the 10 angels and their crew. We talked about and what they do. Who can quickly name them? Jibreel, who is the chief, right? He's the chief of all angels. And then Mikael, who's the weather and provisions. And Israel, right? Azrael, who is who? The angel of death, Malik al-Maut. And then Ridwan, the beautiful Ridwan. And he is the guardian of Jannah, the guardian of Jannah. And then, of course, Malik, who is the guardian of hellfire, Ya Rab. And then, what's his name? Israfil. And then, Kiramul Katibin, and yes, they're the recorders. Kiramul Katibin, Munkar and Nakir. There we go, Munkar and Nakir, who are the ones who take the report in the grave, who descend at the grave. So and then we begin to take the journey of the soul from the moment of death, right? That we took from the moment that the angel of death comes to take the soul, that we know that it removes from this spot, right? And as the soul is being removed, the moment it reaches the throat, this is the moment that repentance is no longer accepted. Then those angels wrap the soul in, either they come with a beautiful smelling perfume and a beautiful shroud, taking that soul through the 7 heavens, or not, right? Or the opposite. That soul is then wrapped in a putrid smell and in a horrid garment, and then taken for what is considered the minor judgment. And then at that moment, it is ordered, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders how that soul will return to the grave or return to the body for the shrouding, for the washing, for the janazah, and then for the burial. And at the moment of burial, 40 steps when the last person leaves the grave. At the moment of 40 steps when the last person leaves, Munkar and Nakir descend for the questioning. Right? And so this is, and what are the 3 questions they ask? Man Rabbuk, who is your Lord? What is your deen? Who is your prophet? And what is your book? In some narrations, and what is your book, right? So what is it that you would be judged by? Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik Sayyidina Muhammad. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to be amongst the people who have the mercy of Allah at that moment and continuously. So I want to talk about from that moment. So after that, I want to see Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik Sayyidina Muhammad. So we'll talk about the major signs to the Day of Judgment, and then we'll talk about the Day of Judgment itself. So there are a list of about 50 signs, actually, that will occur, that are signs of the Day of Judgment. In the hadith of Jibreel, there are several that are mentioned. One, that the slave girl will give birth to her mistress, which is, there are a multitude of things that this means, right? And also to the slave girl giving birth to her mistress. Many of our scholars talk about that this talks about the tyranny of the children over the parents, that being one aspect. This is another aspect as it relates to if you're familiar with not only the transatlantic slave trade, but what happens as it relates to race. There were many slave women who gave birth to children that became mistresses over them. In addition to considering those who were considered a lower or an illiterate class, even their own children would consider themselves better than their own parents because they were more educated, or because of, for whatever reason. The other thing is that was mentioned is in one narration of Hadith of Jibreel is about the natural disasters, like an increase in natural disasters and earthquakes and hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, those kinds of natural disasters. When those things occur, what's important about recognizing that is that these are huge signs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to shake us up, right? In order to wake us up. This is like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Al-Waqiyah, like the great event, right? And those great events that happens based on Surah Al-Waqiyah, there's a description that's given that there are 3 categories of people that are described. There are the muqarrabin, the sabiqun, those who are nearest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are foremost in faith. And then it talks about ahlul yameen, the people of the right. And then it gives a description of the people of the left. theft. What's important to recognize about this, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in Surah Al-Waqiyah, the great calamity, and that this great calamity will be a means by which there is a shift, a sifting of sorts. That this is different, right? There's some translations that says this is as it relates to the day of judgment, that people will begin to be divided. But this is also as it relates to great events that actually occur on the earth. And as a result of these events, people will begin to, basically what is inside them will begin to come out, right? For example, this was many years ago, after Hurricane Katrina, I had met this young man. Hurricane Katrina was like one of the worst, basically, long story short, there was a huge hurricane that came to New Orleans. And, we'll just say the levees broke. And so when the levees broke, it actually flooded. New Orleans it's below sea level. And so when the levees broke that hold the water back, basically it flooded the entire city. Is actually one of the worst natural disasters that happen in America, a little bit between natural and some engineering. And part of where the levees broke, it flooded what we consider some of the poorest areas. People, just hundreds, possibly thousands of people drowned, suffered, just greatly, lost their homes. And so I remember, not long after that, my husband is from New Orleans, so I went to visit. We had gone back, check on family and all of that. And just seeing the level of devastation. Right? There'd be these big X's on the doors, and the X, it would be like, how many people were found alive, how many people were found dead, were there any pets, just like basically all these things that would mark on it, and you would see them like across the city and on all of the houses. So, and it's interesting because before this calamity, people are kind of, they're living their life. However, with all the New Orleans culture. But what I begin to notice is that as I would talk to more and more people, more relatives, more friends, just people in the community, they would always mark their life based upon the storm, right? Either before the storm or after the storm. It was something that was that significant, that like how they would describe it, like before Katrina, right? Before Katrina or after Katrina. This is how they would, begin to describe what happened next. So there was a particular young man, I won't say his name, and we were having a meeting with him, and the question came up about whether or not he believed in God. And he said, I stopped believing in God the day of Katrina. And I said, if ever there was a day to believe in God, that would have been the day. In my mind. But what happens is that he felt like the understanding, and this is something that's so significant that we have to begin to recognize, is that what is our definition of God, right? And as a result of our definition of God, what do we believe that he will, or that God will do, or that God will not do? That will determine where our faith is, if that breaks our faith or that strengthens our faith. So according to that person's definition and a whole lot of other people's definition, that if God was present, if God was God, if there was a God, then he would have stopped this particular calamity, right? He would have not allowed people to suffer in this manner. He would not have allowed death to occur at this particular toll. And so what I just remember as he was talking, all I could hear was la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Right? That there is no power and no might except that from Allah. Meaning that subhanal khaliq, one of the things that bi'idhnillah should strengthen our faith in moments of calamity is the recognition that if it was up to me, this would never occur. Right? If it were up to me, if it were up to my understanding, if it were up to the way that I see it, then it would never occur. And the recognition of one's powerlessness inside of that moment, that's the moment where you recognize I'm not in control. Right? I'm not in control. That the one who has, there's one who has a power and a control in this moment, and it's not me. Right? And the one who has the power and control in this moment, there is a level of intelligence that supersedes mine. Because interestingly enough, what I find in the hadith of Jibreel which is one of the foundational hadiths that we begin to understand what we believe about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one of the foundational hadith for what is basically describes in detail what is our deen, what is it that we believe. So in understanding that part of our belief in Yawmul Qiyamah, part of our belief in the Day of Judgment, he said when Jibreel asked the Prophet sallallahu wasallam alayhi at the end of this hadith, when he says, when is the Day of Judgment? And the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who's asking knows just as much as the one who's being asked. Right? Meaning, I don't know any more about when is the exact hour than you do. That's not something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to us in terms of what is the exact moment of it. He said, then what are its signs? And as he begins to detail the signs, as we mentioned, the slave girl giving birth to a mistress, many hurricanes, things like that, that naked, that barefoot, and destitute goat herders will compete in building tall buildings. What happens is at the end of this narration, when he tells Umar, when this man gets up and leaves, and he tells Umar, go get him, go find him. Umar comes back and says, Ya Rasulullah, I can't find him. I don't know where he went. As if he vanished in the thin air. He said, do you know who that was? Allah and His Messenger know best. He said, this is Jibreel coming to teach you your deen. Right? This last sentence, coming to teach you your deen, your dayan, what you owe to Allah, that everything before that becomes incumbent upon you to believe. That everything before that constitutes what is our mental action, what is our physical action, what is our spiritual action in terms of what constitutes our relationship with Allah. So the moment that this gets detailed, that one of the signs that Allah will bring to let you know, I don't know about you, but if something is going to occur, I consider it a courtesy and a mercy that you let me know. If a disaster is going to happen, if there's going to be something that's going to be serious, what a mercy that you have a warning ahead of time. You're following me? And so interestingly enough, it's usually matters of death that begin to shake people's faith. Right? It's usually, we consider that like a great calamity, like that was one of the hardest things that the human being suffers. But yet it is it's not the only, but it's one of the most promised things that Allah has promised you. That death is a sure thing. You're not getting out of this alive, and not one person you love, connected to, spend time with, they're not getting out of it alive. So why should I then, when death is presented, be shocked? Why am I shocked? Scared. Now I don't believe in the one who told me death was coming. And subhanAllah, in Surah Al-Waqiyah, at the end, what does Allah say? When at the moment of death, even though you're an onlooker, I'm closer to the soul than you are. And if you were in doubt about me, when I take the soul at the moment of death, take it back from me. That for me is like, amantu billahi wa rasulih. Right? I believe in Allah and His Messenger. Why? Allah is giving you a challenge. Who has more power in the moment of death? Me or you? When I have ordered the angel of death to remove the soul, stop him. Stop him in his tracks. Tell him he can't do it. Tell him I have more power over the soul. Tell him I own the soul, not you. Right? Allah said, you're just watching. At this moment, what happens? You must concede to the power of Allah. This is the moment. You concede to the power of Allah. So in the moment of these natural disasters, the first thing I recognize, Allah, you're in control. Allah, you're the one in control. Subhanal Khaliq. You are in control, and your infinite wisdom. The power belongs to you. The decision belongs to you. This creation is yours. You created it, you can destroy it. When and however you feel like it. Why? Because you know the wisdom behind it. Now, most of us would begin to say, Subhanal Khaliq, what would be the benefit? This is the limitedness of our knowledge and our understanding, right? We would say, what would be the benefit of a tornado or a hurricane? What would be the benefit? But subhanAllah, what I notice is that it's either it literally becomes your soul of who you really are becomes made manifest. You get to meet yourself truly in that moment. Either you are a person that when disaster strikes, you're that person that you're like, I'll give you another example. A couple of years ago, not even a couple, maybe just last year, year and a half. Anyway, I was in Palestine. And we were in a Masjid al-Aqsa, and it was Juma. And subhanAllah, at Juma time, you know, it was like a really kind of festive time. You're in Masjid al-Aqsa, like, you know, you're just enjoying. And the women are in the Dome of the Rock. And the men mostly pray in the what you would call like the masjid proper itself, and you know, all the way to the steps. Soon as we said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, boom, 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 boom. Right? You just hear shots, you hear like things like going off. You immediately know this is one of those moments you've seen in the news. Right? You immediately know I am like that person in the news right now. You'll see 3 groups of women. You see one group of women fling open the doors, and they're running toward the sound, right? And they're saying, like, you know, and there's another group of women who are like, "Are you nuts? Close the door," right? Because what? The women who are trying to close the door are like, "We want to be protected. Like, close the door. We're not going to run into conflict." And the women who are fighting them to open the door are saying, those are our men out there. My husband, my son, my brother, my uncle are currently out there, and I'm running toward to protect them to do something. Right? You had another group of women who heard, saw the chaos, and said, Allahu Akbar. No joke. No joke. Right? You had, and I remember being like, subhanallah, right? Just watching it. And that moment. Now, Allah Ta'ala alam, who was the foremost in faith, who were the people of the right hand, who were people to the left, Allah Ta'ala alam. But I remember seeing that big distinction between, there's some women who are like, if they're attacking my men, I'm gonna be on the front line. Another group of women were like, we have to protect the women who are present. And another group of women who's like, we ain't got no power over the situation anyway, Allahu Akbar. Right? And literally began to pray their sunnah. Right? Literally began to pray their sunnah. I was like, this is amazing. Right? Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Allah is so kind. In these moments of disaster, you have people who either are like, the disaster happens, they're like, Allah, I see you. When I was young, I'm telling you a lot of personal stories tonight, forgive me. When I was young, this is like a southern thing. It's a southern, I don't know if you have this in your culture or not. When I was young in the South, and it would start to like have a serious thunderstorm, like it was raining hard, right? They would turn off anything. Look at, she knows, right? You turn off the lights, you turn off the television, you get off the phone, right? You go sit somewhere quiet and pray, right? And they would always, and I could hear my aunties and my grandmother say, when God is doing his work, you sit and be quiet. And I remember watching them like, y'all not scared? This lightning is going off. Like, the thunder is loud. It's shaking the house. Something about summer thunderstorms, right, in the South. It was like, right? And lightning would be flashing, and I'd be looking out the window, and my aunties would just be like, be calm, be calm. And they didn't pray loud at that time. Other times they'd be like raining down the house. Other times. Recognizing what? He's in control. This moment we don't do anything but let him, we just recognize that God is God. That's what we do. I was like, okay. Right? So in the moments of major disaster, you have people who say, Allah, you're wise. I don't know what's going on. I have no clue, but I know you promised it. I know you promised it. I know you promised you would send end. Let me be amongst those who are foremost in faith. And you have people who are wide-eyed, running to and from. What do we do? Where do we go? And when And in the moment of the disaster, they're like, they're panicked. They're short of breath. Their heart is beating. They're racing back and forth. They're like, we don't know what to do. They're afraid about losing their things. What about the, what about grandpa's photo book? Or what about the car? Or what about my jewelry and underneath the bed that I hid, right? Go get those $20 underneath the pillow or whatever. Right? There's some people who become concerned about how am I going to, they're worried about the things. And then there's some people who say, Allah, if you gave it, it's yours to take away. Right? And then in those moments, subhanAllah, what happens when it's over? All those issues that you had, that Allah shows us, all those problems that we had between each other. You don't know your neighbors, now you're about to get to know them. You refuse to talk to your neighbors, now we're all in this rubble together. Right? So I'm going to, here's your daughter's bike. Here's your son's football. I saw your dog over there. If this is your family, this is your wedding photo. Now and guess what? Death is the equalizer. You thought you were better because you came from this lineage. Or you thought you were better because you came from this country. Or you thought you were better because you had the PhD. Or you thought you were better because you didn't. You're like, I never had a PhD. I never paid interest. Whatever it was. You're like, I was better because of this. At that moment, we're all on the same level. We're all experiencing humanity the same. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, I don't care about any of that. But I care in this moment. How do you respond? Who will you call on now? Right? You like FEMA. Where's FEMA? Or will you be like, Allah? Allah. Now, it doesn't mean you don't call FEMA. I'm just saying. Right? Like, trust in Allah and tie your camel. Say Allahu Akbar and call FEMA. But simply in these moments, we get sorted out. Where our level of iman, right, gets shown to us. If Allah is merciful, that moment, bi-idhnillah, is an opportunity by which Allah is showing us, I'm giving you a chance. If you recognize, I failed. Allah, you sent that test and I failed miserably. Right? You sent a test, I failed miserably. So then you have the opportunity for what? For tawbah. To turn around for tawbah. Ya Rabbi, I was headed in the wrong direction. Ya Rabbi, I was so concerned about the things. I was so concerned about, people's opinion. I was so concerned about this or that or the other. And in that moment, Ya Rabbi, you just showed me myself. Now, if you're too busy running to and fro, not breathing, what does breath do? It is the connection between you and Allah. You're too busy not breathing, running, this is happening, horrible, horrible, horrible. You're going to miss the lesson. You're going to miss the chance for advancement. Right? You're going to miss the chance for advancement. When sin is on the rise, when sin becomes high in the world, all types of sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basically people's bad deeds pretty much are higher than their good deeds. These are moments Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends crashing rain. You're not even more powerful than the water. I could send a wind carrying the right virus that you can't even see and wipe you out. Right? When that is high, Allah sends a natural disaster by which the human being recognizes the power of Allah, the powerlessness of the self, the powerlessness of the human being, and then usually good increases. What do people do? They even saw you on TV. They saw they saw the natural disaster on CNN. They're sitting in front of the TV saying, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening to them. People begin to pray for people they don't even know. People begin to give charity for people they don't even know. People become in touch with their own heart. People become empathetic. People that never spoke to each other will become now neighborly. They are now concerned other with humanity. Big sin, loss of the mass, changes. Right? Just brings it back up. brings it back up. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. You'll find students from the IC saying, I want to go on a service trip to help rebuild their houses. I want to go, and by that disaster, what is Allah giving them? Not only an increase in their iman, but an opportunity to serve. The opportunity by which they become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the disaster. But if you say, oh, no, I don't believe in God. He sent me a storm. Okay. Now what? Now you could do whatever? Now you could just be reckless? So there is no God, so I don't have to care about the people? I could do whatever now? That's not going to work out. Trust me. You go from the hurricane to the tornado. But they say you go from the... That's it. From the frying pan to the fire. These women learned all these things from their aunties. I'm telling you. They go from the frying pan to the fire. So this is one of the signs. There will be an increase in that. Why? Because one of the things is there will be increase in sin. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send more natural disasters to shake people up, to sort people out. There will be increase in earthquakes, increase in hurricanes, increase in tornadoes. I don't want to go, we don't have enough time to go through all of the 50, but basically there are about, we have about, out of the 50, oh thank you, they got clever with me. Out of the 50, we have about 7 that remain. These are the ones I will talk about. So signs of the Day of Judgment, not the Department of Justice. The Day of Judgment. Number 1, the appearance of the return of Isa. The appearance of Imam Mahdi. Isa is Jesus. But in Arabic, his name is Isa, just in case nobody doesn't know. The appearance of Imam Mahdi, the appearance of the Antichrist. The appearance, and when I say appearance, it's not necessarily that he wasn't known before. It's just now he becomes known to the people, right, that he's known. Of the Antichrist, also called the Dajjal. War. An increase, there would be like rampant increase in war. Down here is the beast. What am I missing? Thank you. Yes. Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. The smoke. But there's one I'm missing. Thank you. That's the one I'm really looking for. The dukhan is more like, it's not as major as the sun rising from the west. Now, what I want you to understand, and I don't care what anybody else told you, these are not allegorical. They're not allegorical. They're not like symbolic. They're not like, no, these are all physical signs that will occur. How? Because the Prophet, how do we know that? Because the Prophet ﷺ described them in great detail. In great detail. Not like the return of Isa. It means like Christianity will rise again. No, that's not what it means. It means Isa himself will return. You say, how? Allah says, do you doubt that I can bring flesh to dead bones? So, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could remove him and keep him alive. And all this is in the power of it. If he gives life, he can take it when he chooses. He can give it, he can extend it. Some people live to be 1, some people live to be 100. Like, it could be, some people during the time before previously, they lived to be 900. Allah decides. Allah chooses. Right? Allah chooses. This is not. But what's important it will test our sensibilities. We begin to say from our own experience, it's possible or not possible. How could Isa return? How could he come back? Right? How could he, how could Jesus return? That's like what? How many years they say? 2000. That's 2020. They bested on that? Yeah. Said 2020 years? Come on. We're the people who believe in the ghaib. We are the people who say, well, sama'na wa ta'ana. If Allah said, if the Prophet, if Allah and His Messenger said, that's what it is. Like, what does it matter for me to doubt it? Will it stop him from coming? If I say, I don't believe in him, he's still coming. Right? You're not in control of that one. Subhanallah. Well, now, going back to the hadith of Jibreel, our adab in this case, our manners, how do we behave when these matters happen? When the Prophet ﷺ, what did he say at the end of the hadith? This was Jibreel coming to teach you your deen. This is mind-blowing. What happens that? He says, do you know who that was? What was the answer? Allah and His Messenger know best. Right? How could Jibreel come back after 2020 years? What's the answer? Allah and His Messenger know best. How? I don't know. I don't even have that level of understanding. I can't even understand rocket science. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not that girl. Right? I don't know. I heard a whole bunch of scientific things, whole bunch of preservation. They just out of the college. I just read an article recently that was mind-blowing. I read an article 2 days ago that said they have discovered that West Africans, did you read this? They have discovered that West Africans have a DNA that is not of this world. They call it the ghost DNA. Did you read it? Yeah, ghost DNA. I was like, I ain't gonna say it. Right? We on the camera. I was like, the Anunnakis. Like what? They're like, we can't figure it. We have proof of these people with the Neanderthals. We have proof of this, like some other species. They're like, we have no proof. This is ghost DNA. I don't know. Can't tell you. Right? Hello ta'ala alam. They're like, there's nothing in this planet currently that matches that DNA. I'm saying, right? How? You forgot that quick? Allah and His Messenger know best. I don't know how. That's not am I their creator? Allahu al-Khaliq. I'm not their creator. So me commenting on how He did it is just, I'm just doing the research, finding out that He did it, and then when I discover something, I say, oh, that's how He did it. Well, who's still the doer? Allah al-Khaliq. The one who is the creator, He did it. I'm just finding out how. Right? Well, who knows? They'll come up with something. They'll say some super species or whatever. I don't know. Isa will return. He will return from the region of Syria. I don't have time tonight, nor will I in this setting, but I want you to think about the historical context and things happening in the world. Isa will return from Syria. He will come into Jerusalem. And I'm doing the quick version for the sake of time and mahab. Is that, subhanAllah, there will be, when He begins to appear, there will be a lot of chaos in the world. There will be a lot of fighting. There will be a lot of war. There will be a lot of conflict that occurs. For many reasons. Because even His return will shake people up. For those of you who know the Bible, Isa says in the Bible, I didn't come to bring what? I came to bring what? He said, I didn't come to bring peace. I came to bring the sword. which matches with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that said he will defeat the Antichrist, he will defeat the Dajjal with the sword. Why does he say, I didn't come to bring peace? Anybody know? Why didn't he come to bring peace? Allah Akbar. Allah and His Messenger know best. Yes, Allah and His Messenger know best. Part of it is because sometimes there is no peace to be made with corruption. And that was the case in his lifetime. There was no peace to be made with corruption. Either we're shaking it up. That sometimes in order to establish peace, you must first establish justice. We're not going to pretend that things are okay when we have the level of suffering, when we have the level of human trafficking, when we have the level of murder and mayhem, when we have mass incarceration, when we have the level of refugee crisis, when we have people taking ownership over the land, when we have the level of bloodshed, when you have the level of like biological warfare, chemical warfare, intentional starvation. No, I didn't come to bring peace. So sorry. If you were waiting for the one who was going to be like, you misunderstood. Then you didn't read his story to begin with. Right? When Martin Luther King came, it's so funny how they change figures, how they change historical figures. No, I'm not comparing him to Asa. Calm down. Even though they're both recorded as being brown. Right? When Martin Luther King came, he was a threat to national security. They were like, he's causing problems. He's upsetting the way we have functioned. He's upsetting like the economics. He's upsetting our money. He's changing the way we have race relations. Like, this is institutional change. Right? Now today, Martin Luther King he's painted as what? Passive. No, he's so passive. He just wanted us to be kumbaya. Don't shake things up. As if that was his methodology. That wasn't his methodology at all. They were actually upsetting the social order. So what he's saying is, I'm coming to upset the social order. If you thought if you thought that I was going to make peace with an unjust world, then you misunderstood. And if you want to find yourself of those who are foremost in faith, then you must already have that inside you. You must be willing to say, there's some injustice. You have to be willing to suffer some upset. You can't, if the upset, right, if the waqiyah does not shake you to the side to be amongst those who have the strongest of faith. When you squeeze an apple, you got what? Apple juice. When you squeeze a lemon, you get what? Lemon juice. When you squeeze a believer, what should you get? Don't say believer juice. Right? When you squeeze a mu'min, you should get what? Iman. When pressure is brought, we become the people who are steadfast. You don't squeeze a believer and you get hypocrisy. That doesn't work. You don't squeeze a believer and you get those who cut and run. You don't put pressure on a believer and they fall apart and say, well, I don't know, that's like really too much, like that's a lot, maybe like next week. Right? No. This is what it is. Right? يَعْمَرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفَ وَيَنْحَوْنَ عَلَى الْمُنْكَرِ. We are the people. You are the best of nations because you do what? Because you enjoin the good and you forbid the evil. That's active. You enjoying the good. That's a fi'al. That's a verb. This got something you got to be doing. Not like, oh, they're so good what they're doing. That's great. Right? So nice of them to be doing that. Such good Muslims. Right? But no, you enjoying it. You're a part of it. You're working for it. You're enjoying the good. And you are actively forbidding the evil. Right? You're actively forbidding it. So if you're like, no, please don't forbid it. Like, those are all my friends. Don't forbid it. Like, that's my company. Those are the people I love and hang out with. You're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble. Way Allah save us. Right? To be a mu'min takes courage. It takes courage. So he comes, he's gonna meet Imam Mahdi. I'm speeding up. I know you're like, this is like what? You just meet him? Yeah, basically. So they will meet. They will be joined by an army. When it comes time for them to pray, Imam Mahdi will tell Isa to pray, to lead the salah, to be the imam. Isa will say, today I don't come as a prophet. I'm not coming to bring revelation. He says, today I'm from the ummah of Ahmed. Today I'm from the ummah of Muhammad. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So today I didn't come to lead you. Today I came to stand with you. What does it mean for him to stand with you? You have to have been truly upon his message. He's saying, you people who are teaching La ilaha illallah, that God is one, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Almighty. You people who are teaching that Allah lives and never dies. You the one who's teaching that He's all-powerful, He's almighty, He's omnipotent, that He's not a human being. There's no anthropomorphic ideas about Allah. Those of you, that's why I stand with you. And so he says, I'm not leading you. I'm not leading you in prayer. And he pushes Imam Mahdi to the front. Okay? He pushes Imam Mahdi to the front. Imam Mahdi has been with the people. He will be discovered at Hajj. And there are a group of very, very righteous people, we'll just say that, who will discover him at Hajj. And they will begin to bring him forward. And he will begin to lead the believers. There will be some major wars and conflicts. And I'm sorry, this is the speed version. There will be some major wars and conflicts. And at one particular time, because of the major war and conflicts, there will be some Muslims who become refugees and they will flee to two mountaintops. And one mountaintop, there are those who are in one mountaintop, they will have basically they're surviving off the milk of a gazelle. Of this particular milk. That's all they have. And there's another group of people who are another mountaintop and they're only surviving by the dhikr of Allah. SubhanAllah. But they are not weakened. Why? What is it that your deen is teaching you? You think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only teaching you fasting? Telling you to fast every month? Mondays and Thursdays, the radiant days, telling you to fast Ramadan? What is He preparing you for? Yes, so you can learn taqwa. Yes, you can learn self-restraint. Why also? So in the moment when the Dajjal appears, he will appear when people are starving. He will appear with a mountain of food. Saying, you're experiencing famine. Come eat with me. But to eat with him is you have sold your deen. You have sold your deen. And there are some people who will say, I will sell. There are narrations of people who will sell their faith for a piece of bread. Why? They have no restraint. They're not in the habit of fasting. This is too difficult. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, when asked, Ya Rasulullah, you want to be a prophet king or you want to be a prophet slave? What did he say? I will be a prophet slave. Why? Because I'm only enduring it for a while, for a small time. And if I endure it, if it becomes my sunnah and my community sticks to what I taught them, they will also learn this. And then what? When that calamity happens, they're ready. They're trained. They know what to do. They know how not to break rank. They know in the moment, even when the enemy is approached, they stand shoulder to shoulder, ankle to ankle. They stand, bow down, fall, and get up together. If they understood what this was about. No matter where they're from, no matter what rank in society, no matter their social class, their social status, all of that, when it comes to, we join for Allah, none of that matters. We know how to stand and not break rank. If we learn the lesson If we thought it was just ritual, we're going to miss it. Going to miss it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us. The Dajjal will have something on one side that will look like paradise. It reminds me of like those vacation advertisements, right? Where they're like, literally, come to paradise, right? And they're like naked women and like, you know, people drinking and like people in the club, and they're like, you have experienced our resort, come to paradise, right? You gotta know. When that commercial comes on, I would say, I will do billah. Right? I was like, that's not paradise. Right? And on the other hand, he will have something that looks like hellfire. If he says, if you join me, I will give you paradise. If you go to paradise, it will actually, his version of it, it will actually be hellfire. But if you say, what is hellfire in this case? If you're willing to say, I will suffer the burning, I will suffer the hardship, I will stand firm, I know it won't be easy, I will make sacrifice, then you say, I will never choose you. Right? You go through this door and it will be Jannah. Why? Because you only, this is when you gain basira. When you gain spiritual insight. How do you gain spiritual insight? Salah, dhikr, reading the Quran. You're like, oh yeah, I know this story. Right? I heard about this. I know how this goes. Right? I know how this goes. Now the difference is, this is why our deen is mind, body, and soul. Just because you know it, but can you do it? You can't be the people who say, I don't pray, God knows my heart. What's truly inside will come out. You truly believe in Allah, you will do what He commands. Why? Because in this moment, that's it. You can say, I know you're the Antichrist, but I don't have the taqwa. I don't have the strength to submit. I don't have the strength to manifest it into action. This is the case. He, subhanal khaliq, he will be a person of trickery. He will be a person of magic. And this is called ihana. Like it's a kind of trickery and magic that people will think, wow, he's performing miracles. But you have to look at the benefit. Not to offend anyone, but like for example, people will flock to crying statues. Even though the 10 Commandments tell them make no graven images. What did this crying statue do? What did it do? Can it produce something? I need to see you more than cry. Change something, do something. Right? Subhanallah, what power does it have? At least make you walk. And serve the people who are suffering. Do something. At the end, it could be something that's, yes, it's a suspension of the norm. Something has occurred. Something has occurred that's not normal. Something has occurred that's supernatural. It's true. But what does it mean? What is the benefit? What khair? What goodness does it bring about? How does it increase me in relationship to my Lord? Because the Dajjal, the Antichrist, will come with things like that. He'll come with a bunch of it. And the people who don't know, they will be fooled. They say, well, he did this, and he did that, and he did this, and he did that. But my Lord, because he will claim to be God. He will claim to be Allah. So you have to know, my Lord is not anthropomorphic. My God is almighty. Not a man, not walking flesh, not a statue, none of that. But you got to know them. You got to know your Lord. Otherwise you will be fooled. You have to know who is Allah. Anthropomorphism and almighty don't go together. They don't match. Being all powerful and being subject to time and space, that doesn't match. That's not possible. That's not possible. I wish I could tell you more about this Antichrist. Maybe we'll spend some time just talking about that. And then after they're on the mountain for a period of time, there will come some creatures. They're like all these gargoyles that they like to draw. I have no idea why. Their description is very much like that. Like, they're small in height, but they're very...
Broad.
Say again?
Broad.
Yeah, like their stature is like broad, and they have large ears, and it says they have very large teeth. And they're be so rampant, like they're eating everything. They're just like eating everything. This was a group that in Surah Al-Kahf, that there were people complaining about them to Dhul Qarnayn. And Dhul Qarnayn built a wall. Basically, and Subhan al-Khaliq, this is another interesting thing, because it said that this wall is made out of a substance that even what we learned about iron is that iron didn't come from our planet. It's something that came as a result. So he builds this wall that wasn't from, so it basically mentions that it wasn't from something from here. So they weren't able to escape. But one day, one of them will say, Inshallah, today we will escape. Today we will make a hole in the wall. And because of that, it begins to open and they start to come out. And when they come out, they're like these, they just wreak havoc on the people. I don't know if there's like, if they're a human species or they're a mixture. I don't know. That doesn't, you might say, well, why aren't they human? What do you say? Allah and His Messenger know best. Like, be serious. We can't think that only human beings, obviously. Like, there's creatures on this planet, from the butterfly to the human being to like the warthog with those things like this to a giraffe. You know, there are things underneath the sea. There are things that fly, things that swim. You ever seen like coral reef? Like the one that's freaky. Right? Like that's an animal. Right? It looks like some beautiful colorful plant or something, and it's an animal. Right? Or like the Venus flytrap. What you gonna do with that in your mind? You a fly, you're an animal, like what is that? Meaning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us He creates as He wills. So for us, that description, we at least can relate. Small person, pretty stocky, muscular, big ears, big teeth, and just eating, like just eating. Funny fact, Trump opened the Department of the Pentagon for zombies.
Yeah.
You can look it up. Fun fact. I actually am like, they're calling it zombies to us. I'm like, what they know we don't know. I'm like, is this what is that place 51, Area 51? I'm like, they're calling it zombies to make it sound, weird for us. But I'm like, Hadith, I'm like, did they discover them? Are they on their way out? What is that? I don't know. Allah Ta'ala alam. So Ya'juj and Ma'juj will basically they will be rampant in eating everything. And the believers will complain to Isa about them. And he will begin to make dua. And there will be a rain that will there's something that will basically kill them. That will begin to cause, basically there's a sickness that comes, like a plague, that comes and kills them, kills their species. So, but then now they're rampant everywhere. And the stench of their body is so, like their corpse is like a very putrid, like a really horrible smell. To the point that even people are starting to get sick. And so then we'll go back to Isa and be like, Isa, can you ask Allah to get rid of them? And He will send a rain that will begin to wash their bodies away. Upon Lord Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, not long after that, there will be like some kind of large type of earthquake or some kind of large shaking of the earth. And upon that will be, the sun will then rise from the west. Yes, some people are thinking this means the Muslims. This is the Muslims. It means like the light of Islam will come from the west. And yes, maybe. And the sun will rise from the west. Right? This is not difficult. If Allah made it go one way, He can make it go the other way. Right? This isn't, I don't know why we get like, oh, come on, it's going so fast. How will it stop? Like La hawla wa la quwwata, he's all powerful. The earth is so small compared to other things. If he's like, even if it does this, it doesn't have to stop and go this way. It could just do this, which we've already experienced, right? With tsunamis and things like that, where the earth began to do this. We lost a minute and a half off the day because of the shaking, the wobbling. This is not... And the Prophet, one of the minor signs when he said is that the day will become shorter. We were all thinking, all it means, like, we're going to lose barakah in our time. Yes, but now the day is actually shorter. Right? Like, it's not just the allegorical meaning. It's also on a very earthly plane. We've lost a minute and a half off the day. SubhanAllah. And then the beast, the dabba. This beast has like the neck of a camel. It has like he describes that like the snout of it is like a pig snout, and it has a tail. Recently, did you guys? I don't know if you ever follow like the off news stories when they find like these weird creatures coming up on the beach. Have you seen that? Wait. Am I the only one who watches this stuff? Because I'm always like, yeah. Not too long ago, they found this creature that washed up on the beach. They're always finding 1,500 new organisms are discovered every day by scientists. So this wasn't odd. But this particular one, they couldn't figure out what kind of animal was it. They thought it was like some kind of hairless, some kind of other animal they found. When I saw the creature, I was like, oh. I was like, it looks like a baby dabba. It looks like, it was just missing like a long tail. It's like, it looks like, that's Subhanal Khaliq. And this is one of the signs. So Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik Sayyidina Muhammad. After the sun rises from the west, this is also the end, just very similar to the death reaching the throat. This is the moment where repentance is no longer accepted. They said, Ya Rasulullah, 40 days, he didn't answer. Said 40 months, he didn't answer. And because they didn't want to exceed, like keep asking, out of fear of how long the 40 was, they left it. Right? So we know that he will appear for 40. And then there will be 7 years of peace. After the war, the removal of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, there will be 7 years of peace. During that time, Isa will actually get married. Isa will get married, he will have a family. Because this was part of what he did not complete in his life before. Who will remain for 7. And then it said in the hadith that there will be a wind. And this kind of wind that, and wind happens in multiple things. Like we know, for example, subhanAllah, even plague, even viruses, things that come by the wind, right? The germs that come. So there will be a wind. And it will cause the believers on the earth to pass away. I'm like, is it in the halal meat? Is it in the dates? I was like, what is it that would cause specifically the believers to pass away? Because we know, I think at one point, like dates got infected with some kind of disease from bats. Did you hear about that? Where are you people? Right? Yeah, a couple years ago, the dates got infected. They told us not to eat dates from certain places. Don't worry, it was a long time ago. You heard it. Thank you, Dr. Aliyah. Not nuts, right? No. Yeah. So the dates had gotten infected. Alhamdulillah, we don't have that problem now. I don't want you to be like Ramadan, like, oh, I can't eat the dates. No, this was a while ago that some of the dates from certain places had gotten infected from bat dropping. So I'm just like, when I hear about this wind, like basically there's something that will come, it will be like a sickness that will kill the believers. I'm like, it's got to be something that's unique to them. This is just my brain thinking. Allah and His Messenger know best. I don't want you to think like Sister Aisha said there was a hadith that it was going to come in the dates. No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. This was just my independent thought. Like, what is it that will make it come specifically to the believers? And subhanallah, then the believers will pass away. And at this particular time, there will be complete chaos upon the earth. There will be complete chaos and mayhem upon the earth. Like basically those who are corruption and sin will just be rampant. And then there will be another one that will kill everyone else remaining. And the one that kills everyone else remaining This is the beginning of Yawm al-Qiyamah.
You mentioned beast.
Where'd you go?
Oh, I messed up.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, so this, the blowing of the trumpet, everything in the earth shall pass away. And then Allah orders the angel, Malik al-Maut, the angel of death, to begin to take the souls of the angels in each heaven, until he reaches the major angels. And Allah says, who's left? And he will just say, it's me, Mikael. He says, it's me, Mikael, and Jibreel. So this is the three of us left. So then he orders the taking of Mikael. Then he goes back to Allah and says, Ya Rabbi, it's just me and Jibreel. Alayhi salam. Because this is Jibreel. This is the chief of all angels. And then Allah orders him to take the soul of the angel Jibreel. Alayhi salam. And he takes the soul of Jibreel. And then Allah says, who's left? Asking a rhetorical question. And he's like, it's just me, Ya Allah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders him to take his own soul. And at the moment the angel of death is taking his own soul, he said, had I knew the pain of death, I would have taken it more gently with the believers. So then it says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was never more angry than at this moment. He was never more, he said, where are the kings of the earth now? They're non-existent. For all of your arrogance, for all that you did, where are you now? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will begin creation again. He will recreate the earth, but on a plane. He will send a rain, and this rain will cause the bodies to begin to grow like plants. He will order the trumpet to be blown that will return the souls back to the bodies. And then next, those bodies will begin to receive their books. There will be like, the books will like blow, and it will blow the scrolls, like basically everyone's record, everyone's hisab. And if you receive your record in your right hand, then you are from the people of faith. The people who are, bi'ithnillah, the people of Jannah. If you receive, there are some people who will receive their record in their left hand, and this is the case that they are, as mentioned in Surah Al-Waqiyah, they are the people of the left hand. And there are some who will receive it from behind their backs. These are the worst cases, people. And then the believers the Prophet ﷺ will be standing under a flag of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And the believers will see him. And of course they will go unite under his flag. He will then lead them to the Hawd. The Hawd is like a big reflection pool that is fueled from the river of Kawthar. And the river of Kawthar is like one of the rivers of Jannah. It's one of something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Prophet ﷺ when he lost his beloved son, when his beloved baby son, infant son passed away. Allah gave him Kawthar, gave him the river of Kawthar as a gift for his ummah, for himself and for his ummah. So then the Prophet ﷺ will be standing at the Hawd. And as he's standing at the Hawd, Hawd in English, it's more than a fountain. It's like a fountain with like a big beautiful reflection pool. I don't know how to tell you. Just like, it's just collection of water. And then he will be, there are some people who will give them a drink from his blessed hand at the Kawthar. For those who receive this drink, they would never be thirsty again. At this moment, he is gathering his believers and making dua for them. And then, subhanal khaliq wa iyadu billah, there are some angels who will come and begin to snatch certain people away. And the Prophet ﷺ will say, stop. They're from my ummah. They're from my community. What are you doing? And the angel will say, but Ya Rasulullah, you don't know how they innovated after you. That they changed the deen after you. They changed that. And because they changed it, and then the Prophet ﷺ, may Allah save us from this horrible moment. That the Prophet ﷺ will say to them, then take them away from me, take them away. At that point, subhanallah, they will begin to march toward the mizan, waiting for their name to be called. I'm not going to go through all the horrifics of the Day of Judgment. There are some people who will be sweating so much they will begin to drown and not die in their own sweat, just out of fear. There are some people who will eat. They're so nervous waiting for their name to be called, they would have eaten their nail till here. Some to this point, some to here. And the Prophet said some people waiting will have eaten to their shoulder and didn't recognize. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives someone one look of anger on the Day of Judgment, it said like their flesh will melt to the bone and then come back from just Allah being so angry with them. May Allah save us from that. And everyone we love, and every Muslim and every believer from that. Ya Arhamar Rahimin. There will be people who will run to each prophet saying, this day I've wronged myself. Can you grant me intercession? They will run to Adam. So you're the first prophet. Can you give me intercession? He said, I'm not suited for that. Maybe they say, go to Ibrahim. When they go to Ibrahim, he will say, I'm not suited for that. I told 3 lies. He hasn't really told 3 lies. He's saying out of his adab, out of his manners with Allah. Like the moment when he was going to destroy the statue, and he told his father he was sick. Right? So not to go to the party. You guys know the story? Okay. So not to go to the party, he told his father he was sick so he could stay behind in order to destroy the statue. But when asked, he said, I was sick in my heart. I was sick with this disbelief. I just couldn't take it anymore. But he's saying out of mannerisms with Allah, even the Prophet Ibrahim that day is afraid. Right? And he said, so he's like, I have to worry about myself today because of these 3 things that I said. The other one was when he met the Pharaoh of Egypt at that time, and he told Sarah, tell him that you're my sister, because he knows if you tell him you're my wife, he's going to kill us. So just to save his own life. But they were brother and sister in deen. They were the only 2 believers at that time. So this is, but his adab, his manners with Allah, his etiquette with Allah, he feels shy. Like I said that. So he will be worried. So he said, I'm not suited for this. And then they will tell him, go to Isa. Go to Prophet Jesus. Go to him. He's the Messiah. Maybe he's suited for it. Go ask him. And that day, Isa will say, today I don't come to you for that. Today I'm from the, what did he say in the dunya? I'm from the community of Muhammad. I'm going with him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So then they will all run to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this is when the Prophet ﷺ is the first who will be allowed to speak in the presence of Allah. And when everyone else is crying, ummati, like nafsi, 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 myself. Even the mother will leave her child. Say, today, whatever I taught you in the world, may it sustain you today. Today, I can only be concerned with myself. Every parent will leave their child. Every love will leave their lover. Then they will say, today I can only be concerned with my own affairs. I got my own problems today to figure out. Except for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is the only one who will stand in front of Allah and say, Ya Allah, ummati, ummati. Oh Allah, be gentle with my ummah. Be gentle with my ummah. There are some cases, subhanallah, that Allah Ta'ala will call that person into his private company. And in this private company, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will veil them from the people. Will veil this person from the people. And he will ask them, do you remember you did such and such? And such and such. And the person will say, Naam ya Allah. Naam ya Allah. Until Allah keeps asking them and they feel like, for sure I am doomed. For sure I'm from the people of hellfire, as Allah is listing my sins. And then at the end, Allah will say, to be the witness that today I have forgiven you. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik Sayyidina Muhammad. This is reserved for a special group of people. Like, their worst punishment is just that fear they felt in front of Allah when Allah lists their sins. And they will be allowed to enter into Jannah. There are another group of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow to enter without reckoning. without hisab, without account. May Allah Ta'ala make us from amongst them. Then there is the sirat. The sirat is as thin as a razor and thin as a hair and sharp as a razor. Excuse me. Some people will cross it. It is a bridge over hellfire. Some people will cross it at the speed of lightning. On the other side, of course, is Jannah. Some people will cross it at the speed of lightning. Some people will cross it set at the trotting of a horse, the galloping of a horse. Some people will cross it crawling. Some people running. Some people crawling. Some people on their face. Of course, depending on one's case, they will either fall into hellfire or they will make it to the other side. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to be amongst those who enter into Jannatul Firdaus with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Fatima Zahra. Those who are guaranteed Jannah at the speed of lightning, Ya Rab, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. And then on the other side there is bi'idhnillah Jannah. And Jannah has 7 levels. And inside of each level, the Prophet ﷺ, when the companions asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what's the difference between each level? Like the difference between, he said, the difference between the earth and the sky is 1 level. So, and this is like the highest sky. Not like the highest sky. Whatever in our universe. So, subhanAllah, when he said that, the companions started to weep. They started to cry. And he said, why are you weeping? He said, Ya Rasulullah, you will be in the highest Jannah. And we will be, if we make it, we will just be in the lowest Jannah. That means we won't get to be with you in the highest Jannah. And the Prophet ﷺ said, you will be with whom you love. When he said this, the companion beside him got up and danced. Right? I'm sure that was me. He said he got up and danced. So why is he dancing? Like this is you'll be with who you love. Subhanallah. Right? Another one, when the Bedouin kept asking, Ya Rasulullah, when is the day of judgment? He's talking to his students. He didn't answer. Ya Rasulullah, when is the day of judgment? The Prophet ﷺ trying to teach him manners. He didn't answer. Ya Rasulullah, when is the day of judgment? He didn't answer. Then he said, what have you prepared for it? Right? You keep asking me, what did you prepare for it? He said, nothing. Except that I love Allah and His Messenger. Right? He said, nothing. I haven't prepared anything for it, Ya Rasulullah. Except that I love you. Right? And I love Allah. And he said, you will be with who you love. Right? This is like, so attach your heart. Now, don't think, oh, that's it. I just like, all I got is like love, true love. True love has action. True love has action. True love never remains in the heart. True love always spills into the limbs. It always spills on the tongue. It will always spill on the hands. It will always spill on the feet. It's what you do and you won't do when you are in love. Right? To maintain that relationship. So the one who really loves Allah and His Messenger, and Allah knows it best. Allah knows who loves Him best. Then bi'idhnillah, we get to be with those who we love. The highest of Jannah are those who will gaze upon Allah and never blink. Allah. They will sit in the company of Ar-Ra'uf, Al-Wadud, the most compassionate, the most loving, the Nur ala Nur, the source of all light, the source of all beauty, the majestic, the almighty. They will sit in the presence of Allah and never blink. That's the highest level of Jannah. Allah. Allah. And then there are other levels. I don't know about the rest. If you ask me, I don't know. Inshallah, we'll have a class another time on Jannah itself. Another time on Jannah itself, bi'idhnillah. But that's the goal we want. Because everything you're searching for, if you're searching for love, you will find unimaginable love with Allah. If you're searching for, connection, you will find the greatest of connection without pain, without hurt. If you're searching for beauty, that's the source of all beauty, unimaginable beauty. You're searching for light, Allahu an-Nur. You're searching for majesty, Allahu al-Majid. Whatever you're searching for, compassion, Allah Ar-Rauf. Everything is just also, everything else is just a reflection of that. It's Allah we want. It's Allah we want. It's Allah we want. It's Allah we want. So that's who we hold fast for. It's Allah we want. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu.